Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Monday, February 22nd edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm joined by my co-host here Monday mornings from the Netherlands, Mr. Marcel Dorff. Marcel, what's going on, man?
Hi, man. How are you doing?
Not bad. I just showed you a picture of like the driveway at my house. I woke up, I looked outside, and we got dumped last night, man. Like it's insane. There must have been at least a couple feet of snow. It's crazy, but I did half the driveway. I came in and do the podcast. I'll do the other half after the podcast. How does that sound, Marcel?
Perfect, man. Perfect.
All right. So I know you had some news right off the bat. Actually, you know what, Marcel? I want to break your news first because you had some news on the weekend.
All right.
And then we'll get into the card. But you broke a fight, so go ahead and talk to us about this fight.
Yeah, former title challenger Alex Perez. He returns on May 15 against Matt Schnell. Flyweight fight, UFC 262. I think it's a fun fight. Good fight for Alex Perez to get back on track, and a good fight for Matt Schnell to see if he can compete with the better guys in the division. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. And nice job breaking the news.
Thanks.
My thoughts on the fight, I think Perez is a better fighter. He's got way more experience. He's fought for the title. Matt Schnell's a guy who's been knocked out a couple times in the UFC by flyweights, which really scares me, I'll be honest. I know Perez is more of like a ground guy in general. Like most of his best work's done on the ground, but we saw against Formiga those deadly low kicks, those calf kicks he finished him with. I'm very high on him. I know he lost to Figueiredo, Marcel, but I'm still very high on Alex Perez, ranked number 4 in the world. Matt Schnell's actually ranked number 7, which kind of surprised me. I'm surprised how highly ranked he is. But, the guy's turned his career around. Still 5-3 record in the UFC. I think that Perez is going to be a pretty big favorite in this fight. Not huge by any means, but sizable 2-1 favorite, maybe a little bit more than that. And then there's some other news that I just saw you tweet about. That's for this weekend's card. Raoni Barcelos off the card due to COVID-19. Marcel, how many times has this guy been booked to fight like the last 3 months? He doesn't fight at all. Like every fight gets game pulled out. Like I think he's had at least 3 fights. Maybe he gets scrapped in the last 2 months.
Yeah, man, it just sucks, man. I mean, I think Raoni Barcelos has been picked up by the UFC pretty late as well. I think 2 or 3 years too late, in my opinion. And now we have so many fall through for fights. So kind of sucks, man. He was supposed to fight Rafael Assunção. Assunção also pulled out. Then he had to fight Marcelo Rojo. And now he has to pull out due to COVID. So yeah, it sucks. Also, Randy Brown against Alex Oliveira is on the card. Yep. So fight is pretty much falling apart, man, lately in the last couple of 12 hours or something. So
yeah, and that happened on the weekend too. We'll talk about that in a second. I just want to talk about Barcelos for a second. I mean, I think this guy is legit as heck. Like I think he's a possible title contender. Like I really do believe in him. The problem is, Marcel, you're right. He's 33. He's not young. And that division, you got to be pretty young to really do well, I think, in general. There's a few guys like, TJ and like Faber that did well at an older age. But in general, Marcel, those lower divisions, you got to be fast. And you got to be a little bit younger. But I think that this guy is very good. And I'm excited to see him fight again. To be fair, I wasn't too excited about that fight with Rojo. I think he was going to be a huge favorite in that fight. Everyone probably would have picked him in that fight. But at least that guy stepped up, Marcelo Rojo. Is he going to stay on the card? Do you know anything about that? Or
no idea. Same with Oliveira. No idea.
Yeah, hopefully, the guy gets another fight. I did see that Danny Rube was saying that he's got some guys that wants to step in to fight. I don't know who it was, but he said he would.
I saw Daniel Rubenstein. He put out that Jeremiah Wells was.
That's his name, Jeremiah Wells. Yeah, that's the guy. He said he would take the fight against. Is it Brown? Brown Day, right?
Oliveira.
Oh, okay. Brown's out. Okay.
Yeah.
That sucks. You know what? I was actually looking at the card for this weekend last night. I was just doing some preliminary research. Today's I'm really going to get into it, but that was one fight that, like, honestly, Marcel, I had no idea who was going to win that one. That was a very tough fight to call. Yeah. Both very well-rounded, but also very flawed fighters. Okay, let's get into UFC Fight Night or UFC Vegas 19, I guess. Man, great card. Now, there's a lot to talk about this card. First off, another night of crazy upsets. I keep saying it every week, Marcel. Everyone keeps throwing all this money on these huge favorites. They keep losing. This is exactly why we stay away from betting minus 400 favorites. Curtis Blaydes on paper had the wrestling advantage. It didn't play out that way at all. That's why MMA is crazy. Marcel, the amount of times I've talked to people about fights and then people completely write off one of the fighters, it's crazy, man. Like, this is MMA. Anyone can win in the sport. Any fighter can win in any given day. So to me, it was like people were really, really just ignoring what Derrick Lewis has done in the UFC, which is, quite frankly, be probably the most underrated heavyweight ever, possibly. He might be the most underrated heavyweight of all time, Marcel, because people still aren't giving him his due. After this knockout, maybe a little bit more, but you look at his resume, it's very good. He does have some bad losses in there, no doubt about it. especially earlier in his career in the UFC, like Matt Mitchell, for instance. That's a loss he'd like to have back, I'm sure. But, Marcel, he has some good wins, man. Volkov, and now we got the win over Blaydes. He's got Nagano on his resume. I know the fight sucked. He still beat him. The guy's really good. People do not give Derrick Lewis enough respect because I don't really know why, actually. Because they think he sucks because they think that because Cormier submitted him, he can't wrestle with people. The guy is very good at getting off the ground. We talked about this last week, Marcel. We said that if he kept it staying, he's going to hurt Curtis Blaydes, and he did that. And I was saying last week, there's going to be one of these heavyweights that lose, and I didn't know who was going to be, and it ended up being Curtis Blaydes as a minus 450 favorite. Derrick Lewis plus 350, Marcel. I wish I put money on it. I thought about it, but I just passed. I was like, I'm not going to touch this fight. Everywhere I saw everyone laying Curtis Blaydes minus 450, Marcel. And I'm just like, that's crazy to me. In this sport, with that many fights on the card last week, there was like 13 fights that ended up happening. You had so many fights that were like pick 'em prices, and then you go and throw all that money on the big favorite. Honestly, I feel like it was that's just another lesson learned. You can't just parlay a huge heavyweight favorite, Marcel. And I know the other guys did win, but, Derrick Lewis is a guy you just don't bet that kind of huge price against. He's just too powerful. Give me your thoughts on the fight, Marcel.
Yeah, listen, man, I got to be honest, man. I also had the same thing with Derrick Lewis, man. He's okay, but I didn't see him as a top ranked fighter or for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but I mean, he proves everybody wrong the whole damn time, when he fights. So, and it probably has to do with fights like I said, against Marcin Tybura, against Abdurakhimov, against Volkov, where he was losing the whole fight, and then he completely turns it around and he stops the fight or he's fighting, So that's why people underestimating him, I think. So, I thought Blaydes had a high fight IQ and that he could made sure that he didn't get caught by Lewis, but Lewis did that perfectly. He caught him and he ended that fight.
Yeah, it was a great fight, man. The first round, Curtis Blaydes won that round. He looked really good on the feet. I was like, man, his striking looks great. That's the problem, though. He fell in love with his striking, Marcel. How many times have you seen that? A grappler falling over their striking. Yeah, he looked good. He was laying some low kicks. He looked really fast on the feet. I thought he looked good. I'm like, all right, he's going to use this to set up the takedown. He didn't go for a takedown, I don't think, the whole first round. Maybe he went for one and Lewis stuffed it, I think, in the first round. Second round, shoots. That uppercut, dude, that was one of the nastiest uppercuts I've ever seen. So, Marcel, the timing was so perfect. They were training that the whole time in their training camp, right? Like, there's his training partners running in. He was like, all right, that's what I'm going to do to you guys. So, I loved it. And I'm going to get some comments here from people. Jamie, what's going on? He says the knockout by Lewis was murder. Oh, it was brutal. And here's what Kevin's saying. Biggest dog on the card. Yep, he was. Good stuff. And the sounds Blaydes was making was scary. Dude, that was freaky, Marcel. They're talking about, oh, wow, what a knockout by Lewis. You could hear it in the background, like, like, dude, this is brutal. This sport is so brutal. People do not realize, like, how brutal the sport is. Also, what's with all these asshole fans, like, on Curtis Blaydes' Twitter saying, you suck, dude, you're getting knocked out. If you do that, you are such a jerk. Like, seriously. Like, the guy let's be honest, his dream is probably gone at this point. Like, I don't see him fighting for the title ever. I'll be honest, Marcel. Yeah. The UFC doesn't like him anyways. Let's be honest. And, he's been getting knocked out by these high-level guys like Nagano and Lewis. Go ahead.
Just like these idiots who keep asking, like, how do you say that? Did he get that speech thing because he got knocked out by Ngannou so 2 times? Yeah. I mean, that's not because of that,
Yeah, he has a stutter. I mean, the first time, I remember when James interviewed him like 5 years ago when he was in RFA, and I heard the stutter. I was like, James, do you know if this guy has like some brain troubles or something? And he's like, no, dude, he just has a stutter and stuff. So, like, I knew that a long time ago, but it's sad that fans, are that ignorant, Marcel. Listen, the guy got knocked out. He talked a lot of crap leading into the fight, and he got knocked out. It happens, man. That's the fight game for you. But, I still think he'll be back. I still think Blaydes is a top 10 guy, but Marcel, I'm just surprised by the fight IQ in this fight because I thought he was a much smarter fighter than that. And honestly, I think his game plan was kind of dumb, to be honest with you. I didn't like the game plan. He should have been wrestling 100% of the time. He shouldn't have even bothered standing with Lewis. You gave the guy his one path to victory, which is staying and trading, and he knocked you out with it.
It's actually weird because he said, like, people can complain about me how I fight. I take you down and grind you out for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't do it. So it's like, you probably care about what those people thought. So you shouldn't care. Do what you think is good, and you probably win the fight. But you see with more fighters, man, that when they got called out for something they can't do, they're going to do it. And then they fail for some reason. And I'm just like, you shouldn't care about what other people think. Do what's good for you.
True, and they get this comment from Tyler Warner. He says, they say, look at Tyler, he looks so professional in his picture. He says, if you have a slow pacer or weak in certain areas, that people automatically think you're bad. Absolutely. And with Lewis, it's like people think because he's a bigger guy, he's not the fastest dude, and his takedown defense is pretty bad, they think he sucks. But his ability to get up off the ground, Marcel, is very good. We saw against Olynyk. And you know what? Like, honestly, his submission defense is great. He's been submitted once in his career by DC. That's it. So, I feel like, if you look at his resume, Marcel, the knockout losses he has to Sean Jordan, Matt Mitchell, and Mark Hunt, those were all on the feet too. Like, he's really never been beaten on the ground except for DC, which is crazy because we all thought he was going to get smashed on the ground in this fight. But if you really look at his resume, even in the fights where he was losing on the ground, like against Shamil, like against Roy Nelson, he ended up coming back and stealing those fights, Marcel. So the guy has an incredible ability to come back and win fights. And I was blown away by his performance, man. I think the guy is great. I love him. I think his interviews are amazing. He's so funny. This is a guy who's really turned his life around. I mean, this is a guy who was in prison at one point in his life. He could have been this guy. This is crazy. This guy could have been behind bars right now. We might not even be able to see what he does in the cage. And that's what to me is most amazing about this guy, Marcel. He's not a traditional martial artist. He's just a big, strong, powerful dude who can knock your head off. And I love him. Yeah, he's a beast. So for him next, he called out Overeem, which I don't really understand the call-outs, to be honest with you. I guess because he's Blaydes' teammate and he's available, but he just basically said Overeem can get all greased up and oiled up for me. And I don't know if you saw the interview. It was pretty weird.
Yeah,
it's pretty funny, but you like that fight? I don't really understand the matchup. I'd rather see him fight the winner of Gane and Rosenstrike. What do you think?
That makes much more sense indeed. Yeah, now because we know that Stipe is fighting Ngannou, winner of that fight is probably fighting John Jones. Maybe the loser of that fight, the loser of Stipe against Ngannou, maybe. And if not, the winner of Gane against Rosenstrike would make sense as well. But the Overeem fight, no, please not, man. I hope Overeem does one more fight. I think he wants the last fight to happen in Amsterdam, but now with the COVID, probably takes a little more time. But perfect fight for Overeem would be Junior Dos Santos' second fight, the rematch. I think that would be perfect for both guys.
I watched that fight. I'm surprised Junior's dropped so far in the rankings. I know he's been knocked out a few times, but against really good guys. Now he's down to 12 behind Walt Harris. That doesn't really make sense to me. I still think Junior can beat guys in this division. I know his chin is gone now, but to me, Marcel, that's a sensible fight. Overeem JDS. Quite frankly, the loser probably retires from the sport, especially if they get KO'd. But I remember when they fought, I think it was 7-8 years ago now. Yeah. I thought JDS would knock Overeem out. I was surprised when Overeem knocked him out. That was a great win for him. Let me get these comments here. Daniel says, Lewis is overlooked. Great job playing himself down, catches out. Yeah, he does. He plays possum a lot too in his fight. He's kind of a weird guy to fight. He really is. Andre, what's going on, man? He says, I don't know if it was just me. The whole week I was getting the vibe that Curtis just didn't want to be there. I'm not sure what was going on with him. Clearly the fans, I think, got to him. Or all the criticism for the wrestling got to him because he didn't really want to do it in this fight. He kind of just wanted to strike. And the shot was very sloppy too, by the way. Go ahead.
You know what it is, man? On Instagram, you can just put out people only can reply to my pictures when they are following me or when I'm following them.
Yep.
And if that's really bothering you, you should do that. Or only let certain people reply to your pictures and not everybody. What I mean?
Maybe he should do that because he's getting trolled pretty bad right now.
Yeah.
Kevin Scott, I want to see Lewis versus the loser of Stipe Francis for next title challenger after Jones. That's really what changes the whole situation now is Jones coming up because Lewis, quite frankly, would probably fight for the belt after this fight, Marcel. But Jones coming up, he's getting the title shot. I think everyone's okay with that, including Derrick Lewis. By the way, Derrick Lewis versus Jones would be a good fight too. I'd like to see if Jones can handle a huge guy like that. I really would. That if he can't beat Derrick Lewis, he won't win the belt, right? So it would be interesting. But he will fight Stipe Francis, I believe. Let's take this comment. Aspinall talked about wanting to fight another veteran, Overeem or JDS. Great options. We'll talk about Tom in a few minutes here. Anything else about the main event before we move on?
No, I'm done with the main event.
Co-main event, pretty bad fight in my opinion. Kind of, it was basically Vieira holding Yana on top, but she did no damage at all. Yana did a lot of damage from the bottom. I'll be honest, I scored it for Vieira because I thought that she did enough with the grappling to win the fight. But I will say this. As soon as the commercial break came back and the fighters were staying there with the referee, and you could see Vieira's face busted up, bloody, her head hanging down, and Yana looked like she hadn't even been in a fight, I was like, there's no way she's getting this decision. I just knew Marcel. So I don't think it's a bad decision at all. In fact, I'd like to watch the fight again and I think I probably didn't score it right, to be honest with you, because the amount of damage. It's kind of hard to see on TV sometimes. If you're a judge right there and the guy's throwing elbows or girl, in this case, bloodied up, you can see it. You can't see it as much on TV. So maybe that's what a lot of us didn't see, all those elbows and stuff on the bottom. But she got the decision, Marcel. How did you score the fight? You give it to Yana or to Ketlen?
I haven't scored a fight for the simple reason that I didn't feel great on Saturday night. So
that's
it
right,
was a fight where I fell asleep. I was like, this is probably not going to be a great fight. I closed my eyes for 50 minutes. So
I hope you feel better, man. Marcel's feeling a little bit sick these days, guys. So give him some kind words here. Marcel's the man. Jose says, in a possible rematch, do you think Ngannou blitzing Lewis like he did Yair is better than being at distance and let Lewis lose? Probably. I don't know if Ngannou was doing that fight. It was after the Stipe fight. He was very, I think, lost a lot of confidence, and he just that was a terrible fight. But I did cash Lewis at plus 300, I think, in that fight. I wish I picked him I should have picked him on Saturday too, man. Andre says Blaydes never had a chin, always had first like wide and bad recipe. Yep. Anyways, Marcel, as far as the co-main event, I mean, there's nothing much to say other than, Ketlen missed weight by 2 pounds, and this was a card where a lot of fighters miss weight. We'll talk about them in a second. But next fight, Derrick Minner versus Charles Rosa. I called this one. Can you believe I was the only one in the staff that called this upset? I called Derrick Minner. I thought he'd submit Charles Rosa, but Rosa very good submission defense and ends up going the distance. But Derrick Minner, he's like plus 170 underdog. Marcel, the guy is fun to watch. He's got great grappling, right? Like I enjoy watching this guy fight. What do you think?
Yeah, man, he did very well, I think. I think Rosa was very threatening from his back, in some positions, but overall, Minner was better guy, I think. Did very well positioning, trying to finish the fight, couldn't finish the fight, but overall, I think he won all 3 rounds. So I think Minner did very well. I didn't expect it, to be honest. So yeah. I'm not gonna lie about that. I know you did. So
I did, but I thought he'd submit him. To be honest with you, I didn't think he'd have 50 minutes of gas, but he did. And Daniel said on Tapology had Minner by decision. Nice job, man. He didn't bet it though. It was like huge upset number, like plus 500 for underdog money. Daniel says he slept through a co-main event too. Yeah, it wasn't a great fight. Actually, I was pretty tired too. I was like telling my fiance, I'm like, I need to go to bed soon. This fight's really making me sleepy. Oh no, Marcel's gone. He'll jump back in. Then you got Chris Ludford's calling. Hey, Chris. He says, what's your thoughts on Macy Barber? Couldn't find it last week. Well, she's still very young. She's only 22 years old. I still believe in her, man. I think that, a lot of people are writing her off after back-to-back losses. And, in this sport, like, people are kind of like, you have one bad fight and people think you suck. You have a good fight and think you're amazing. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But, again, 22 years old, that's very young. She's at a good camp, obviously. And, to be fair to her, she had missed over a year after the fight with Roxanne in a fight where she was injured in that fight. And comes back and fights a pretty good boxer. It was a pretty tough matchup in hindsight for her. I picked Barber to win that one, but Grasham looked great. Let me just see where Marcel went. He must have just reset his computer or something. I don't know where he went. Hopefully we'll be back in a second here. Okay, well, let's go to the next fight anyways. Next one was Chris Dawkins and Alexi Olynyk. I love to talk about this one because I love Chris Dawkins in this fight. He was like one of my best bets on this card. He was like minus 170 all week. What an absolute steal. This guy is the future, in my opinion, guys. I really believe this guy's the future. It's funny. You look at him, right? And you think, here he is. Oh, there he is. There he is, Marcel. I'm just talking about Chris Dawkins and Olynyk. But I just want to answer Chris's question. Can you tell me who – Chris, you're asking about Barber. There's if you go back to last Mondays, I think we did talk about it. But, again, I think she'll bounce back, I believe. I was just talking about Daukaus a little bit, Marcel. Dude, I think he's incredible, man. You look at him, right? He's kind of soft looking, like he's got a bit of fat in his belly and stuff, but great cardio, man. Great boxing, Marcel. Like fast hands. I think the stoppage was great too. By the way, how can people say it's a bad stoppage? Olynyk couldn't even stand up. He couldn't even stand, Marcel. He was about to fall over after it. So I'm not really sure why people were saying it was a bad stoppage. If the guy's about to fall over, like. It's a good stoppage, even though it was standing. Anyways, I'm very high on Chris Dawkins. Give me your thoughts on his performance.
Yeah, very good, man. I think he did exactly what he wanted to do. Olynyk tried to get him to the ground. Didn't really happen. And when he was throwing down on Olynyk, it was pretty much over, and it was pretty much like I expected to go.
Yeah, no, so, I agree.
Yeah, very good. I think it's a third win. After third UFC win for Daukaus, all 3 stoppages. So
Yep.
Very good. Very good, man.
I like him a lot, man. 3 first-round finishes. And this is a great win over a guy in Olynyk who's ranked number 10. So Dawkins is going to be ranked number 10 now, probably.
Yeah.
Also, I think Olynyk should really retire, man. I don't want to see him fight anymore, Marcel. He has no chin at all. He's got one way to win the fight, drag you to the ground and beat you there. He cannot beat you standing. I don't trust his chin at all. I just feel like, he's 43. He's already won. I think he might be the oldest fighter right now in the UFC. He's either 43 or 44. Anderson's gone, so I think he might be the oldest guy. 75 fights, Marcel. Gets knocked out a lot. I mean, what else does this guy have to prove? Tell me.
Yeah, nothing to me. Also nothing. So of course it's his choice, but I wouldn't be mad if he retires, man. I think it might profit him to retire because he didn't look good in his past fights.
He could just coach and stuff. I think he'd be a great coach.
Yeah, I think for sure he would be a great coach. I think. Yeah, he's also at the American top team, so it would be.
He is, and Tyler says one punch he's toast. He's got no chin, dude. Seriously, he really doesn't. And skills wise, he's still got the skill, but just the chin's gone. Hey, okay, so let's answer Chris's question. He says, "Who can Macy beat at flyweight?" I'll give you one name. She beat Shayna Dobson, I think. Pretty sure she beat her. You're looking at the UFC flyweight division. I mean, there's a few fighters she could beat. Listen, I'm not saying she's amazing, but first off, she already has I think 3 wins. She probably beats those fighters again. And then you look at some of the other fighters lower in the division, like Mazzani and Cachoeira. She might fight the winner of that fight. That's this weekend. Maybe Barber fights the winner, or even the loser. At this point, Marcel, they need to kind of bring her back up with I wouldn't say an easy fight per se, but an easier fight than Grasso and Modafferi, someone who's not ranked, like an unranked. I think at this point, probably that makes sense. I don't know what your thoughts on her are, because Chris was asking about Barber.
I think she beats a lot of flyweights, to be honest, man. Maybe not who are in the top 10 or top 15 right now, but I mean, if you look, you got Montana De La Rosa against Mayra Bueno coming up on this weekend's card. I think she would be able to beat both girls, to be honest. So, I mean, if you look, for example, Antonina Shevchenko, she's good to stand up, but the ground game isn't really much existed. So Barber can excel there. So I think there are a lot of options for her at flyweight, but she just fought the wrong flyweight, and Grasso, who was pretty all round in her fight. And before that, the Modafferi fight, was kind of an odd fight, but I mean, she can definitely compete with the flyweights in the top 15, I think. There are maybe a few she has much difficulties with, but she can compete with a lot of girls, I think, in the top 15.
I agree. And then Jose saying Firo and O'Neal are the future at 125. Yeah, I agree with that. I want to get these 2 questions, but we want to stick to the recap. I'll do the questions after. I will get these 2 because I'll forget if I don't do them now. Chris is asking, is Juliana Pena a serious contender? If she beats Holmes, she is. But right now, she's got to beat her still. After losing to Germain to me, I'm still not sold her completely. JCSO, what do you guys think about Covington turning down number contender fight against Edwards? I don't know. I'm not really sure if it's a good idea, to be honest with you. He thinks he's going to get the title shot, I guess, but it seems like they're doing Masvidal Usman from what I've heard. So I don't know. I really don't know what Covington's going to do next, other than the fake Twitter account. We should talk about this now. Some asshole created a fake Twitter account about Marcel and posted Covington Burns yesterday. And so many people retweeted it. People don't even look at the tweets anymore. And Marcel, they don't bother to look. And in this case, the guy had one letter that was different. So I guess I could see why. But you can just click on it and you see the follow. Although I don't understand why 100 people follow this fake account. I don't get that at all. You want to talk about that at all, Marcel? You want to say anything on this guy?
I mean, the picture already looked off. I don't do a picture like that, like somebody looking to the left and the other guy looking to the front. So they already know it's not really good. But what can I say? What can I say, right?
They gone after you. They went after James. They went after Nolan. They haven't gone after me yet, so I don't. That's good. But I'll probably be next. Especially if they're watching the live stream now, they're going to go after me now. They're going to create a fake Adam Martin account. Go ahead if you want, guys.
Slightly.
That's when you know you've made it, if they got a fake account going. Jose Flores, any news on Maverick? Yeah, no, nothing. She hasn't been rescheduled. Hopefully it gets rescheduled, but we haven't heard anything. Chris Ludford, Jojo, Stewart, Shevchenko, Murphy will beat Barber. I think she beats Montana De La Rosa. No doubt about it. I don't think she's that great, man. No offense to her. She's an okay fighter, but looking at her resume in the UFC, it's not that great. So she's fighting this weekend. We'll talk about her tomorrow. I'm going to get back to the recap just so we can get back on track here. Phil Hawes at Imavov. Give me your thoughts on this decision. I did score for Phil Hawes. I hadn't winning the first 2 rounds, but a lot of people had for Imavov because he did a lot more damage. what do you think? I mean, it was a close fight. It was a majority decision.
Dude, I had this picked before as a fight of the night. What a fugly ass fight was that, man?
Garbage fight.
I mean,
yeah,
absolutely awful fight to watch. First 2 rounds probably for Haas because of the cage grinding. Very annoying to watch. He did what he had to do. Third round definitely for Imavov. You could score the second round for Imavov if you go pure on damage, but it was too less for me, you know. So I expected it to be 29-28 for Haas, but man, awful fight, man.
Yeah.
I mean, really not a good fight. Yeah, good for Haas, he won, but I mean,
this is garbage. What does it do for him, really? If anything, stock's dropped now. You know, I know he's at the Camp Stanford, great camp. They were basically like, all right, let's just try to beat Usman in this fight. Let's just pretend to be Usman. Be Usman. Dude, he almost got KO'd, by the way, in the third round. I mean, that could have been 10-8. That's why I don't hate the 10-8, like Daniel's saying. I don't hate it, but he didn't drop him either. There was no like huge moment where he dropped him and almost finished the fight. So for me, it was Haas, and I did pick Imavov. I was hoping he would win the decision, but I think Haas is a bit.
And then Imavov had him hurt, and then he clinched at a certain moment. It's like, why you're
Dude,
clinching,
oh my God, I was blowing my mind. I was talking to my fiance. I'm like, this guy's fight IQ is so low. What is he doing? He actually did have him hurt in the third round, Marcel. Actually, in the second round, I think, at the end of the second round, too. And he just went and hugged him against the fence. I was like, what are you doing? It was a bad fight. Terrible fight. Hard to watch. Is what it is. Daniel says, you've made it, Marcel. Tyler says, imitation, the best. Sincerest form of flattery. So that's good, Marcel. And then Kevin says, one day we'll see a fake Adam Martin account popping on the screen 10 times every event. It was only once this week, I counted. It was once. The Danny Chavez fight. And I said they're going to throw low kicks, and they did for like the first 2 minutes, and they were just wrestling after that.
Yeah.
Tyler says he didn't like the fight either. And Daniel has a good point. It feels like 2012 mid-card fight with the wrestler trying to squeak out a win. That's a great – it reminds me of like a Gleison Tebow fight, like an old split decision for Gleison Tebow, Marcel, like something like that. Just push him against the fence, hope for the best. It's not great. Jose says the rumor of Aspinall Romanov. Marcel broke that fight, I believe, and it'd be a great fight. Marcel likes Romanov, I think, right?
Yeah, it's not broke yet, but that's
I apologize.
No problem. But
that's was broken. I thought I saw it somewhere. Whatever.
It's indeed a targeted fight, yeah.
Yeah,
but it hasn't been broken.
How do you go against King Kong, guys? I mean, the guy's a beast, you know. So Espinal's good, but he's also like 40 years old now. So he's getting up there in age. Dan says Marcel's a warrior showing up to the podcast injured. That's right, man. Chris says so Macy beats one of those 5. I see that's not good, right? Also, Paige Van Zandt have tougher opponents, by the way. Chris is a big Paige Van Zandt fan, I would say. Chris, I'd like to hear. Actually, I didn't see you after the bare knuckle fight. You want to give your thoughts on that? I'd love to hear it. You know, I think Macy's a decent fighter, man, but I don't see her really winning the belt. I think some of these fighters, they're very, you know, they think a little bit too ahead of themselves. She beat Jillian Robertson and was like, I want to beat John Jones to become the youngest champion, beat Valentina. Like, she was going too far. She was going too crazy. Slow build. There's no rush to rush these prospects, and I'd like to see her get a little bit slower build. And Daniel says it's a bad match for Espino. All right, main card opener. I think this was actually supposed to be in the prelims originally, but Tom Aspinall submits Andre Arlovski in the second round, Marcel. Great performance. I thought he almost finished him in the first, and then he gets the submission in the second. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, Frank Mir Jr. did great, right? I think he looked very good. Pretty much as expected, man. I thought he would take out Arlovski in the first round. He almost did, but Arlovski was tough. And the second round, he had that rear naked choke in quick, man, and Arlovski tapped quick. Good win for Aspinall. Actually, his first, it's not to be hating, but his first legit win against a heavyweight in the UFC, because his other two were like a big middleweight and a light heavyweight who was taking a short notice fight, a heavyweight. And this is a big win, man. As a former champion, Arlovski was on a 2-fight win streak. Yeah, very good for Aspinall, man. Looking forward who they match him up. I don't hope they match him up with Daukaus.
I'd like to see it, man. I gotta be honest. I want to see this fight. You know, I know. Yeah, go ahead.
It's a good fight, but why would you already kill one of the two prospects already? So
I just feel like there's so many contenders now. There's so many contenders now.
Yeah, but heavyweight is still very slim to me, man. There are still people in the top 15 who shouldn't be in the top 15, in my opinion. So
that's true. Yeah. I don't think they'll do that fight. They'll probably do Overeem or JDS versus these guys, something like that. You know, like veteran that they can knock out. But I mean, Chris Dawkins is in the top 10 now. Tom Aspinall, I don't know if he's in the top 15 because I don't think Andre was ranked, but he'll be close to it. I think he's taught like Blagoy. I think it's either Blagoy or Tabur who's number 15 right now. Aspinall would, that would be a good fight for the winner of that fight, Marcel. Blagoy and Tabur, maybe that's a good fight too. What I like about him was, he's not just a puncher. He also has that BJJ, and we saw that in this fight, which was unbelievable. I was very impressed by his performance. And Tyler says Aspinall's got really fast hands. He absolutely does. And he also doesn't want to see that fight. I do, but I'm crazy too, so don't listen to me. MMA Forum Guide, 4 weight misses, 3 of them huge, bigger punishments. Gordon took only 11 minutes of 2-hour win away. And that dude was cheating, and it worked out for him. Didn't work out for Drako. We'll talk about them in a second. We'll talk about the prelims now. Jared Gordon, Danny Chavez. So my tweet comes on the TV, and I'm like, all right, I think there's going to be a lot of calf kicks in this fight. And there was, man. The first 5 minutes, Marcel, this fight was just they were just exchanging calf kicks. I was like, this is pretty fun to watch. And then Gordon went right to his wrestling, grinded out Chavez, and I was wrong about this fight. I thought Chavez would keep it standing. But Gordon gets the win here. But he missed weight, Marcel. He missed weight by 4.5 pounds. 4 pounds, I should say. I think it should be 10% a pound, up to 5 pounds, and then the fight gets canceled. That's my opinion. So in this case, it should have been 40%. I think he got 30, and it should have been 40. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. I actually been a big fan of when you miss weight, and not by 1, but let's say over 2 pounds missing weight, you are not eligible anymore to win a fight. That
in Road FC, that's so harsh. Why would you even fight though? They take away their money, everything. Why would you fight?
I don't care. Make weight.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
I mean, absolutely. So nothing against Jared Gordon because I really like to do it, but just in general, I think it just sucks. You fight, you win by submission, for example, but you lose a DQ. So that makes people not missing weight anymore. I think because the percentage of a certain amount of money, it sucks, but still, I guess you get your win bonus when you win, right? So still, it pretty much evens it or even gives you more. So, you know what I mean? They should do something about it. And what Adesanya said, take 90%. I don't know if that's a good thing, but I think if they do it, you won't see a lot more. A lot of weight missing anymore if they do 90%, for example.
That's true. The Dale says maybe a point deduction. They do that in Road at FC too. I think they take away your points. They take away your purse. They don't give you anything. You basically get shit kicked out of you for free. You can't win your fight. There's no point of fighting.
Let's say a point deduction for every pound you're missing.
Every punch you miss.
Every pound you're missing.
It's interesting. I don't think a fighter would fight though. I don't see in North America. I don't think they do this, man. I'm not saying it's the wrong thing because I think they should have harsher punishments. So the question is, what should they do? I don't know. But I will say Gordon and Rodriguez cheated. They went right in the scale at 12 o'clock, Marcel. They didn't even bother to cut the weight. They were like, you know what? We're going to miss. We're not going to struggle. And it helped out one guy. The other guy just had a bad weight cut, I think. We'll talk about him in a second. And I'll get Chris's comment here about Paige and Barber. He said he never said she's not that good. Never said didn't like Barber. He don't think she's all that good. Miranda Ravic's surprised. So is Grasso. I agree with that. Both get very little media coverage. I agree with that too. It's a shame. Paige isn't a boxer, but for bare knuckle fighting, she made $400K. Yeah, no, you're right about everything, man. I mean, listen, dude, she's probably going to fight the 4 fights at BKFC, make a couple million, and go back to Bellator and join her husband there. So it probably works out for Paige pretty well. What are you going to say, Marcel?
The thing is, Barber is very loud all the time, and that's why that's what the UFC likes, And Alexa Grasso and Miranda Maverick are not very loud. Yes,
that's true. That's a very good point.
And I prefer not the loud people, by the way, but hey, I'm not a promoter, so maybe I would have think differently if I'm a promoter. But I mean, Barber really sells herself in a certain way,
Yeah.
And Grasso is very talented, but she is not a girl who's gonna tell everybody that she's gonna beat that and she's gonna do that and gonna do this and gonna do that, So that's pretty much different, I think.
She's really quiet. Let's hear Kevin's comment. What if they don't let you fight if you miss? What sucks for the fans? They won't do that, man. Here's the problem with that. Number one, if they cancel the fight, they're not going to give the other fighter the money. They might give them their show money for weighing in. They won't give them their win bonus. So you're screwing over the other fighter, even worse in my opinion in this case. The other thing is they have a certain amount of fights they have to have on TV, dude. So they try to make it work. Example, this card, we'll tell this fight now. Aiemann Zahabi knocked out Drako Rodriguez. He came in 4.5 pounds heavy. They asked him at the press conference, why did you consider not taking the fight? Because he weighed in at 140.5 for a 135-pound fight. He said, I did, but we decided it was worth the while because Sean Shelby gave me a new contract and they gave me a raise. So he was giving more money to take the fight. I think that's the way to do it. You give the other guy more money rather than necessarily take away all the guy's purse or deduct points. Because for instance, if Drako had, he missed weight by 4.5. Just say they deducted 4 points, like you guys are saying, 4.5 points or whatever. Why would he take that fight, dude? He's going to say, screw you guys, I'm not fighting. Even though it was his fault, he won't take that fight. So there's got to be a way to figure it out. But I do think that in general, there's a lot of unprofessional people on the roster and a lot of people cheating, man, to try to make weight like Drako.
It's that easy. You don't take the fight, you get the DQ on your record.
You could do that too. Now I think they do that in Road too. It's just like brutal. Like I think they do point deduction, purse deduction, DQ. Like you have no way to win the fight. You just go in there and fight. Like what's the benefit though, Marcel? Like I just
you don't have a benefit if you don't make weight. It's like when I can, for example, I know soccer isn't big in the US or in Canada or whatever. If you have a penalty kick against you, a goalkeeper cannot go off his line to go in front. You have to get on your line and move there. If a goalkeeper comes from his line and he stops the ball, the penalty kick has been taken over because he doesn't have the advantage. If you break a rule, you shouldn't have an advantage at all. So
I agree with that too. It's just complicated. I think it's a very complicated thing. It's unfortunate that this is such a big part of the fighting of MMA in North America. It's not so much in, for instance, Asia with one championship where they don't do these huge weight cuts because they have the guys fighting up one weight class, like JCSO is saying. And I'm with you. There has to be rehydration limits. That's why you see fights like this get, guys come in massively overweight like this. It's bad. Kevin says the next fight should up weight class too. 100%. Drako should fight at lightweight or a featherweight, Marcel. He can't make bantamweight. He should fight at featherweight. Here's a question for you, Marcel. Oh, yeah, sorry. Before we get this question, give me your thoughts on Zahabi, because that was a hell of a knockout, right? 1-2 punch. Beautiful.
Yeah, man. Zahabi got that Ariel Helwani spirit for some reason, man. I mean, pretty much looked exactly like him. It was a great knockout, man. I mean, I didn't expect it. I picked Drako Rodriguez to win the fight. So, good for Zahabi, and he needed that one, man. He went 1-2 in his last three UFC fights. So, good one for him, 2-2, and he can look forward again in the division.
Yeah, he gets a new contract too, so good for him. Chris says, Big Marcel, this is for you, Marcel. Big Marcel, do you think Barber beats Antonina, Maya, or Chikagan, or Jojo, or or someone like McDern? There's a few fighters in there she beats, I think, but not Dern. But Antonina,
she beats Antonina. Maya probably not. She can beat Jessica I think. And Mackenzie Dern is a strawweight, man. So
yeah, it's a different. I mean, she has fought at flyweight, right? Yeah. She fought once, I think. Didn't she fight a flyweight once? Dern?
Yeah, because maybe she lost weight. Oh, she
missed weight, right? Lost weight.
Missed weight, yeah.
Yeah, she's missed a few times. Anyways, getting back to the card, there's a few more fights here. John Castaneda, unbelievable knock over Eddie Wine. This is one of the guys I was really high on this card. Eddie Wine looked good for like 2 minutes, but his chin is gone, Marcel. Another guy that probably could end up retiring after this. You think he's done?
Yeah, pretty much, man. I think he has had been a great career, man. He's former WEC champion. And, I mean, they showed his last 3 wins on the broadcast before the fight started, and one was against Yves Chabouin. When has that been? Like in 2013 or something?
Yeah, it was like a long time ago. Takei Mitsugaki. Like these guys are done, man. Like Brad Pickett, like Scott Jorgensen. These are like blasts from the past. What? Scott Jorgensen. Remember that guy?
Yeah. I know. I think this last win from Wilder was against Grigory Popov, right? And
that's right.
2 years ago or something. So I think it's pretty much over for Wilder right now. He's been a tough veteran, but it's over. By the way, I did watch the prelims with my dad, by the way, and he was laughing about John Castaneda's nickname, Sexy Maxi.
Sexy Maxi, I love it. It's a great nickname. Watching the guy's tape and footage, he didn't really have a ton of knockout power, but I figured with Wineland's declining chin, the fact is, Marcel, he fights literally once a year. If you look at his resume, he fights once a year. He's a full-time firefighter, I think. They don't work 5 days a week, but still, he's not a full-time fighter anymore. I think this is probably it for him. Castaneda, I really like. How about this stoppage in this fight between Arosa and Landwehr? I think it was kind of an early stoppage, man, to me. Like, it was a knockdown, obviously, but, to me, it's like you can't just stop a fight based on a knockdown. You have to, let the guy have a little bit of time to recover, like a second. The ref jumped. Mark Smith's a good ref, but he jumped in right away. I think it was an early stoppage, Marcel. What are your thoughts on it, man?
Yeah, it's difficult, man. I first thought as well that it was an early stoppage, and then I saw a certain angle where
Yeah,
Landwehr was with his head on the canvas like that, and then he popped up. So I could see the stoppage.
yeah,
I don't really mind, to be honest. But yeah, you got to know it's Nate Landwehr, man. He
yeah,
does crazy things, but
yeah.
I understand the stoppage,
And
But
now he's been knocked out
yeah,
twice in the UFC, Marcel. I mean, this is bad for this guy. He's 1-2 now in the UFC with 2 knockout losses, and the win he had was a freaking war against Elkins. So a lot of
and
damage.
arguably, I think Alkins won that fight. That's
Yeah,
my
we talked
opinion,
about
by
that.
the
It
way.
was a very close
Yeah,
fight, but the cut on his face is what lost him the fight.
yeah.
Arguably the same with Vieira, arguably. Although that fight was a little bit more, probably more damage done. Daniel says Kelleher and Zahabi be close to Dana versus Ariel. Octagon. That'd be funny. Yeah, he actually really does look like Ariel, which is crazy. But I like Aiemann a lot. You know what's funny? I put that tweet I threw out a few weeks ago about saying, "Hey, has anyone got any work?" He actually retweeted it. So thank you, to Aiemann. He's a great guy, man. Canadian, fellow Canadian Marcel. The truth is, Marcel, we don't have that many good Canadian fighters now in the UFC. He might be one of the best. He's very good, and I was glad to see him get the win, even though I thought Drako would win this fight. I'm glad I stayed away from it, though, because after he missed weight, I was like, I can't bet on him anymore, because I wanted to bet on Drako, but I'm glad I didn't. Although, in general, it was a tough night for a lot of people, 2 other fights, Marcel. Casey O'Neill defeats Shannon Dobson. Sergey Spivak defeats Jared Vandeira, both via TKO ground and pound, basically. Thoughts on those 2 prospects? Actually, I wouldn't say Spivak's a prospect, sorry. O'Neill's a prospect. Spivak's a contender at this point. Go ahead.
O'Neill looked good, man, in her debut, but I expected her to win the fight. Although she did it more decisively as I thought she
Yeah.
would. So good for her, man. First fight. Let's see what she can do in her second fight. Spivak against Van der Rey. Pretty early stoppage, I think. Now, of course, that was a very late stoppage, but it was Cristiano, so what do you expect? Yeah, good win for Spivak and Van der Rey. Yeah, we'll see, man. He's what they're gonna do with him. Spivak maybe gets a top 15 guy again. He didn't look good the last time they gave him a step up in competition, so maybe he will this time. Let's see what happens.
Yep. This is the last question I'll take about Barber, Chris. I really like you, man, but we can't talk about Macy Barber the whole podcast. Yeah, that's where she lose her next 3 fights. Of course she'll be cut, but you can't lose 5 in a row and not be cut. Quite frankly, if she lost one more fight, they might consider sending her back to Invicta.
Believe me, man. If she loses her upcoming fight, they're gonna give her the most easy win in the division she can get.
Yeah.
They're not gonna. Yeah.
Which I think is Dobson, probably based on her record, which is the worst record, I think, at 2-4. But she's still tough. This is a great question. I tweeted about this yesterday. Marcus says, "What is the percentage of underdogs winning UFC so far in 2021?" It's like 39%. It's basically 40%, which is what I wrote, which is insane because I don't think let's expect that many underdogs to win. Like basically, 4 to 10 fights are ending in an underdog winning. That's crazy. I don't see that continuing too long. I feel like it's going to even out very soon. But I will say this: it just shows like there's a lot of really cocky sports bettors out there, especially MMA, that think they know everything about the sport and they know everything about these fighters, and they completely ignore these other fighters like Blaydes and Lewis. It's a perfect example of that. Everyone was throwing all their parlays with Blaydes in it. All these props on Blaydes finished in the fight. And Derrick Lewis went in there and finished Curtis Blaydes as a plus 350 dog. So there's a lot of very crazy fights right now going on. Li Jingliang knocking out Ponzinibbio was pretty nuts. Poirier finishing McGregor. There's been a lot of upsets, Marcel.
Rodolfo Vieira and
that was the best one of the year. I mean, that fight was sick, by the way. It was an amazing fight.
Khalil Roundtree.
Did you pick him in that fight? Did you pick Partio or no?
No. I picked Roundtree.
Yeah. Jose says, "What are your thoughts on PFL's heavyweight division?" It's okay, I guess. I mean, they have some new talent in it, but what are your thoughts on it?
Hard to say, man. There are indeed some new guys in it, but a lot of the guys who fought 2 years ago in the tournament as well.
Ali Isaev or whatever, that guy.
Yeah. We just got to see the first league fights. Let's put it like that. Before we can say anything about it. Some guys haven't fought for 2 years now, so
I know it's crazy, but yeah, I think Isaev is the champ defending, so probably be the favorite to win it. But obviously, Verdum is going to be a big favorite too. Let me get these comments. Go ahead. You want to say something?
You got Justin Willis in it now.
Yes, that's right. Justin Willis, man, he's going to get taken down for a ride by Curtis Blaydes. Tyler says all these he meant to say favorites here, but he's like all these minus 250 favorites losing around a 30% rate, 36% rate, which is wild. I'm with you, dude. It's crazy. And that's why I kept saying last week, I'm like, stay away from these like mid 200, minus 300 guys. Those are the guys that are losing right now. Daniel says Vieira and Hernandez talks about MMA betting. That was a crazy fight, dude. Got Chris's comment too. He says, will UFC sign more female featherweights? I don't think so. Doesn't seem like they're investing at all in that division. Have you heard it? What do you think? Will they?
Probably more female flyweights who Macy Barber can eat.
Exactly.
I'm just kidding, man.
That's what Chris wants, man.
I don't know, man. I don't think they will sign more featherweights. Although I saw Felicia Spencer has another fight line.
She does?
Up.
Oh no way!
Yeah, I wonder against who.
Oh, you know who it's against, or you can't say? You can't say, huh?
No, I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? But she has a fight, huh? I like her. I mean, she's tough. She's big. She's strong. I like her. But there's like no one in that division. It's the worst division in UFC right now. I'd almost rather see super heavyweight than women's featherweight. Bring back the super heavyweight so me and Marcel could fight. Put the rest of the cage together. Jose Flores. I know his record is not good, but I think Tafa has potential to make some waves in the heavyweight division. I don't know. I mean, he lost to Felipe his last fights. Didn't De Castro knock him out too?
Yeah.
I think so. I don't see much from him. What do you see anything or?
Yeah, he won one fight, but I forgot which one. Who did he beat again? He's 1-2, I think.
Yeah, he did knock someone out. I just gotta remember who it was. It was Juan Adams, who's also not in the UFC. So
yeah, true.
Not a great win. Juan's a nice guy too, but he's got some work to do on the regional scene.
Yeah.
MMA form guy, Will Alves, 50-pound guy. You know what? Okay, we didn't talk about him or Skelly and Embers yet. I completely forgot about that. So let's talk about this. 50-pound weight cut, 11.5 pound miss, dodgy salmon not getting cut. How did he not get cut? I don't understand how Sean Shelby gave him another fight. From what I've read, he basically was saying, he was getting dicked around a little bit by, they were saying they're going to fight at featherweight or lightweight. They weren't sure, and he just couldn't cut the weight because he had a bad dinner. But he said he cut from 195 to make 145. So it's this guy's fault, Marcel. What was he thinking? And I think they should have cut him. What are your thoughts?
I'm really high on giving second chances, so I don't really want to see him cut because I think he is a legit dude. But I see your point, definitely. Also, the only thing that really, really bothers me is that 5 days before you're not going to make it if you're like this, and you still let Pat Sabatini, who took this fight 7 days notice, cut the weight to fight you. He makes 145, Pat Sabatini. So that's amazing. Yeah. And you come in at 157.5, and you just let your opponent make weight. That just sucks, man. That's just disrespectful, in my opinion. That's the thing what bothers me the most, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, he not only he missed weight, but he set the UFC record for biggest weight miss. So it's not like it was a few pounds. Before that was Rumble versus Vitor, where he missed by 11 pounds. I'm going to get this comment too from Daniel. It's a pretty funny comment. It says, you're female and you can make 145. There's no need to whine about unemployment, the economy. That's right. You can be a fighter. You want to be a fucking fighter? You want to be a fighter, man? Remember Dana White, the old Ultimate Fighter speech? You want to be a fighter? I gotta read that speech. I used to love that speech. Jose says, what are your thoughts on Azatar? Dude, he says, I knew he was going to be bag. That's funny. Yeah, Dana White, it's crazy, right? Like, he cuts this guy, brings it back. Guy like Paul Daly gets cut, never brought back. Jason High gets cut, never brought back. It's just, they're very inconsistent with this kind of stuff. I guess those situations are a little different with officials, but this whole thing about sneaking in the bubble seems very reckless, and the whole bag thing was weird too. So I don't know what happened here, but Ali Abdelaziz, once again, Marcel does his job and gets his fighter a good deal. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, man. I mean, Dana, can trust him, Paul Daly, like you said, Jason High. Let me also add Renato Babalu Sobral. Those are the only three pretty much he kept word about of not getting back in the UFC. All these others not. So yeah, whatever, man. I mean, I don't want Ottman to be canceled from the UFC or whatever, But I mean, then just don't say it that you're gonna kick him out and don't take him back 1 month later.
Yeah, exactly. Tyler says Skelly deserved a performance of the bonus for his backstage singing performance. Yeah, he's saying "Fuck Her Gently" by Tenacious D was hilarious. I feel really bad for this dude. I mean, that's crazy. I was watching it with my fiance, right? And he's in the cage. He's staying on. I'm like, what's going on? She's like, they're waiting for Emmers. Just wait a sec, sweetie. They'll come in. I'm like, babe, there's something wrong here. Something's going on here. It's too long. And then a minute later, you see it's like fight's been canceled. So Emmers apparently had his back flare up. I feel bad for this dude. Hopefully he feels better soon. But Chad Skelly, Marcel, they talked to him and the media did. He can't fight 2 weeks from now. He said he cuts a lot of weight. He's going to have at least a month off. And he was like, can you please give me my win bonus? I really need the money. He hasn't fought in 2 years. I really hope they give him his money, Marcel. He deserves it. It's not his fault this happened. He actually even stepped in the cage. He went into the cage. So to me, show money 100% because he made weight. And then I think you should give him his win bonus. The UFC is like, what does he make anyways? Probably 30 and 30 or something, 40 and 40 max, maybe. I don't even think he makes that much. Is that really even a Dana White spends $1 million on boxing fights, Marcel, when they lose. I don't think $40K to pay Chad Skelly is a huge deal. I want to actually double check what his purse is, but he hasn't fought in 2 years. And he also, he's had 2 fights ripped apart now, back-to-back years. He was supposed to fight Grant Dawson last year. It got taken apart. Let me see if I can find his salaries. Let's see here. His last disclosed salary. It's been a while. I don't even know if he has. It's too long. The last one was when he fought Elkins, and he made $21,000. That was 5 years ago, and then the Gregor Diaz card. So yeah, I'm sure he makes more now. It's probably like 40 and 40. So just give him his money, guys. Honestly, like, yeah, for us guys, normal guys like us, 40K sounds good, but for a fighter, all the training camp expenses, Marcel, and the manager fee, all that training partners, coaches, they don't even really make that much at the end of the day, Marcel. Like it's crazy. Chris says 22K. Yeah, that's his last disclosed. It might be a little bit more now. It's possible, right? Let's take this one. Chris, he says, what's next for Wheelie, Rose, or Carla? I hope Rose, but could be either one, really. And he says, what about Tatiana? Is she going to fight this year? Hope so. Dude, 2 years ago, I thought she was going to be the champ. Actually, the first time she fought in the UFC, I was like, that girl's a future champ. When she smashed who is it? The Canadian girl, right? Rakosi? Was that who it was? I can't remember. Who it was. Cooper, ABC. She destroyed her. And I was like, this girl's going to be a champ one day. And she just too many injuries. But I love her, man. She's great story with the cancer, beating that, becoming an ultimate fighter. She's great. Jose says, who you're going to book Meredith with? Mayweather's fighter. I love that guy, too. I think he's close to a top 15 guy. What about Brad Tavares? What do you think of that fight?
Yeah, it's good. I actually still want to see the Muradov against Kevin Holland fight.
That's right. Yes, it was supposed to happen last year, right? Would be a good fight. Holland's fighting Brunson. Seems like they're on different collision courses. They might be for a belt one day. Who knows? But I'm very high on Meredith, Marcel. I think he's very good.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I had a few other things in my notes here. We talked about Gilbert and Covington. What about this? You see Glover Teixeira? He talked about turning down a fight at 259. They had offered him a fight. I'm assuming it was against Alexander Rakic. He said, no, I don't want to fight. I'd rather just wait and see what happens if someone falls out, or if I'll just wait for the title shot. He didn't want to risk losing a fight. It is risky, though, to do that, because just say Rakic goes in there and destroys Santos. Maybe he jumps ahead of Glover. It's possible. I'd like to see Glover fight for the belt. I think it should have been him in 2 weeks from now. But, he's just going to have to wait another probably 6 months now to fight, I guess. But if Izzy wins, it really changes the division. The other thing is, if Izzy wins, maybe he vacates the belt, and then you got Glover fight for a vacant title. There's a lot of options here, because Izzy might go to heavyweight. There's a lot of options. That fight is next Saturday. That is crazy to me. That's coming up very soon. Marcel, he's asking, he's asking, is the UFC having problems with the April 17th card? Is that the one in Singapore? Is that the 24th?
That's the one they want to do in Singapore, 17 and 24. Okay. So the thing is, let me get the schedule. The thing is that they wanted to do Whitaker versus Costa. They wanted to put it back to April 10th, but Costa didn't want that. So that's still the main event for April 17th. But there are only 5 fights known by this moment. So I don't know.
Yep. Let's see what else I had in my notes. I had a few other fights that we talked about from your page. I want to pull one up here, though, because there's one that I really like. When I saw it, I was like, this is a great fight. Let's pull it up here. I'm going to pull up your page right now, Marcel. We did talk about a few fights. We only have 5 minutes left, so we don't have a lot of time to talk anyways, but pull him up here. Mr. Marcel Dorff, best Instagram page on the planet. Screw Kim Kardashian West, or whatever her last name is now. Go follow Big Marcel24. Give him some follows. We talked about this a little bit, I think. Chookagian and Araujo, I mean, they're both pretty good fighters. The knockout loss to Andrade really worried me with her. That knockout loss, but Araujo's dangerous. I don't know. Chookagian's a lot bigger, I think, too. I got to look into this fight more. I think she's a lot bigger, though. And she's actually younger, too, which is crazy. Thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's Araujo looked good in our last fight. Chookagian, actually always looks pretty decent, in most of her fights. Never really something extraordinary. So it will be. I think Araujo has to do something special to probably defeat Chookagian. Chookagian is much of a point fighter, I think, a lot. So
Yeah.
Yeah, and she makes a lot of sound as well.
I was gonna say, like, this might be the fight to skip on that card, to be honest with you. If you go to the bathroom, this might be the one, unless you want to hear hi, 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 like every 2 seconds. She's brutal, man. If she ever fights Holly Holm, that would be the worst thing ever. Herbert Burns versus Alex Munoz. I like this fight. AG fight. I think AG. Yeah, they broke it. They're a really good outlet in Brazil.
I gotta put a note on this one because Alex Munoz has DM'd me, and he said he didn't heard about this fight yet. So I was like to him, like, he's like, "Who put that out? It's an AG fight." He's like, "That's crazy." I was like, they also announced the last 2 Herbert Burns fights, so I don't know what's up. He's like, "Yeah, maybe my management didn't tell me or anything yet, or hasn't put it through yet, or whatever, or they haven't. The UFC even haven't sent it yet, because I have no idea about this one. So let's see what happens."
Yeah, that's a good fight, though. I like it. Hopefully, it sticks together. We only have a few more minutes, Marcel. Let's get to these. We talked about this a little bit. Shannon Perez, we talked about it. Hill and Yoder, that's this weekend. I'll talk about that tomorrow. Hill is a big favorite right now. This fight's been canceled. We talked about that. And then there's this one. Where is it? Talked about this one already. This is the fight I want to talk about. Ludovic Klein versus Ilia Topuria. I freaking love this fight, man. I'm very high on both these guys. Topuria coming off of a brutal knockout over Damon Jackson. And Klein, you guys remember I talked about him. I said I watched all his fights, all head kick knockouts, and he did it in his UFC debut. He freaking did it, Marcel. He's incredible, man. I love this fight. I honestly don't even know who I'm going to pick. Is this fight official, by the way? Because it says Fighting DNA, and I know that that was the same thing that the Gilbert Burns Covington thing. Is that you guys, Fighting DNA? Who is that?
No, that's not us. The thing is, Ludovic Klein signed a bout agreement to fight Ilia Topuria, and he posted that as well. And also he posted that the fight was done. And Topuria side later denied that there was ever an agreement, that there was ever a done deal. But then the Daniel Rubenstein, the how do you say that, the manager of Klein, got into it. He's like, since when the UFC sends out bout agreements when there wasn't a verbal agreement, you know?
Yep.
So, and then Malky or Ibrahim Kawa responded to that like, "Sit your bitch ass down. We haven't agreed on anything like that." So there's some kind of a Twitter beefing going on with that. So Topuria doesn't want to have this fight. He wants another fight.
Who's with first round management? Is Topuria?
Topuria, yeah. Klein is with Ruby. So
nice.
So Klein signed a bout agreement, but Topuria and Topuria's management declining that they ever agreed to fight Klein. And then he says, like, how do we get a bout agreement when there were no verbal agreements? The UFC doesn't give out bout agreements if there is a verbal agreement. So, that's a problem with this fight.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then Jose's saying, why does this happen? I don't know. It happens way too often. It's terrible. You go on Twitter and see your fights announced. Like, come on.
I give you an example. For example, like a year or 2 years ago, I know one fighter announced that he had a fight, and I asked another fighter who I thought was going to fight him. It's like, are you the opponent? He's like, no, I haven't heard anything, so I have no idea. So okay, cool. 4 weeks later, he tells me, "Hey, dude, I'm fighting this guy. It was indeed me, but I haven't heard anything." And he signed a bout agreement on fight week.
That's crazy.
That's when he signed the bout agreement.
That's crazy. All right, we've got 1 minute left, so I'm going to do this fight really quick because this guy just asked. This is a good fight too, Young Morales. Yeah. But someone asked about Riddell and Gillespie. Love the matchup. Great fight. Can't wait to watch that one, man. I'm glad Gregor's finally back. All right, Marcel. Last minute of the show, man. So plug your stuff. Tell people where to find you, where they can follow you.
Big Marcel24, Instagram, Twitter, MMA DNA, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, wherever the F you can find us. And Adam, thanks for having me again, man. Always a pleasure.
Of course, man, of course. And I think Marcel won't be able to come Thursday. He's busy with work, so I'm going to get someone else for Thursday. I'm talking to a few people right now. I will get someone else. Tomorrow, Cole will be here at 10 a.m. with me to break down UFC Vegas 20, Gone versus Rosenstrike. I'll get Marcel to get – he's going to give his picks anyways, but I would love to get your picks on that, Marcel, but maybe if you could join us tomorrow at one point, you can go in the chat or something. Follow me on Twitter at MMAOB, djpen.com, MMAOddsbreaker.com, bunch of other places. Elite Fantasy, that's where I am now. Check that out. Bunch of places, guys. So busy as heck right now, but podcast will still be going on for the foreseeable future. If anything changes, I'll let you know, but not at this point. I'm going to keep doing it Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 a.m. here on YouTube on MMAOddsbreaker.com. Tyler says, great show. Jose, verbal agreements like they agree, but they didn't sign the deal yet. Guys, talk to you tomorrow.